A SEAL Admiral was touring a veterans hospital when he stopped to thank an elderly man sitting quietly in a wheelchair. Just routine courtesy for someone who'd served. But when the Admiral asked his call sign out of politeness, the old man's answer made him freeze. Shadow 1. The name hit like a flash bulb. Every SEAL in the room went silent. Some call signs aren't just names. They're ghosts from missions that never happened. Share where you're watching from in the comments and hit subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Is this some kind of joke? Rear. Admiral Michael Hastings couldn't believe what he just heard. He stood frozen in the hallway of the Veterans Affairs Hospital in San Diego, California, staring at the old man in the wheelchair. The man was maybe 82. Thin to the point of frailty with white hair and skin like weathered leather. He wore a simple gray sweatshirt and sweatpants. The standard issue clothing of long-term care patients. His right leg ended at the knee, the empty pant leg folded and pinned. His hands rested on the wheelchair's armrests, trembling slightly with age or illness. Hastings had been doing his quarterly tour of VA facilities, part of his duties as the commanding officer of Naval Special 116 Warfare Command. Standard rounds, shaking hands with veterans, thanking them for their service. Public relations, mostly important work, but routine ill. "I'm sorry, sir," Hastings said slowly, his voice tight. "What did you say your call sign was?" The old man looked up at him with pale gray eyes that seemed to see through walls. "Shadow 1. His voice was quiet, raspy from decades of hard use. Long time ago. Behind Hastings, 3 Navy SEALs who'd accompanied him on the tour had gone completely still. Master Chief Marcus Webb, a 20-year veteran with multiple combat deployments, looked like he'd seen a ghost. The 2 younger SEALs, both recent graduates of BUDS training, didn't understand yet, but they recognized the change in atmosphere. "Shadow 1, Hastings repeated. His mind was racing, pulling up memories from his earliest days as a young SEAL candidate. From the stories told late at night in training, from the whispered legends that every operator learned. Shadow 1 doesn't exist. That's a myth. A story they tell at BUDS to motivate candidates." The old man's expression didn't change. "I know what they tell you. Sir, with all respect, Shadow 1 was supposed to be a SEAL operator from Vietnam who ran solo deep reconnaissance missions behind enemy lines. Missions so classified they were never documented. The story says he operated alone for months at a time, gathering intel, sabotaging supply lines, extracting high-value targets. They say he never existed. Because the missions never existed. That's what they're supposed to say," the old man replied quietly. Master Chief Webb stepped forward, his voice respectful but firm. "Sir, every SEAL class hears about Shadow 1, but there's no record, no service file, no 313. After-action reports, no proof any of it was real. Of course, there's no proof." The old man's hands stopped trembling for a moment, gripping the armrests with surprising strength. That was the point. Plausible deniability. If I got caught, if I got killed, the Navy could honestly say I didn't exist. No mission, no operator, no international incident. Hastings felt his heart pounding. He'd been a SEAL for 28 years. He'd commanded SEAL Team 3, fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, run classified operations across 3 continents. He knew the history of naval special warfare inside and out. And he knew that Shadow 1 was supposed to be a legend, a motivational story, not a real person sitting in a wheelchair at the San Diego VA. "Sir, what's your real name?" Hastings asked. William Grant, Chief Petty Officer, retired SEAL Team 1, 1968 to 1975. One of the young SEALs pulled out his phone, started searching military databases. Admiral, I'm not finding any record of a William Grant in SEAL Team 1 during those years. You won't, Grant said. My records were scrubbed in 1975. Part of the deal. What deal? Hastings demanded. Grant looked at him for a long moment. The deal that let me come home. The deal that kept me out of a diplomatic crisis. The deal that erased 7 years of my life so the government could pretend I never did what they asked me to do. The hallway had gone quiet. Other veterans, nurses, staff members had stopped what they were doing to listen. Something about the old man's voice carried weight that couldn't be ignored. Hastings pulled up a chair, sat down at eye level with Grant. Sir, if what you're saying is true, if you really are Shadow 1, then you need to tell me your story. Because every SEAL 510 who's ever gone through training has heard about you. And if you're real, if those missions actually happened, then we deserve to know. Grant's eyes drifted to something far away. You think you want to know, but some stories are better left as legends. With respect, sir, I disagree. Grant studied the Admiral's face, saw genuine curiosity mixed with respect. Finally, he nodded. Slowly. All right, but not here, not in public. He gestured to a nearby room. In there, just you and your men. And when I'm done, you'll understand why I stayed dead for 50 years. They wheeled Grant into a small consultation room and closed the door. Hastings sat across from him. The 3 SEALs standing at attention behind their admiral. The old man looked even friendlier in the harsh fluorescent light, but his eyes had sharpened, focused. 1968, Grant began. I graduated BUDS in February. Got assigned to SEAL Team 1, deployed to Vietnam in April. I was 22 years old. Thought I was invincible. His voice carried a bitter edge. I was good. Really good. Navigation, close quarters, combat, languages. I picked up Vietnamese and some Mandarin. After 6 months in country, they pulled me aside. Said they had a special assignment. What kind of assignment? Master Chief Webb asked. The kind that doesn't get briefed to anyone except the people who need to know. They 642 called it Operation Silent Shadow. The concept was simple. Insert a single operator deep into North Vietnam or Laos. With minimal equipment, no support, no extraction plan. The operator would live off the land, gather intelligence on enemy movements, sabotage key targets when opportunities arose, and report back via encrypted radio bursts every 72 hours. Hastings felt cold settle into his bones. That's suicide. One man alone in enemy territory with no backup. That's why they needed someone crazy enough to volunteer, Grant said. They asked for volunteers from 3 SEAL teams. 7 of us raised our hands. They put us through another 3 months of training, survival, advanced reconnaissance, psychological conditioning. By the end, only 2 of us were left. Me and a guy named Danny Morrison. What happened to Morrison? One of the young SEALs asked. Grant's face darkened. He ran the first Shadow mission, lasted 11 days before the NBA caught him. They tortured him for 3 days trying to get him to admit he was American military. He never broke. They executed him and left his body as a warning. Officially, he was killed during a routine patrol. His family never knew what really happened. The room was absolutely silent. After Morrison died, they asked if I still wanted to volunteer. I said yes. I was young, stupid, and angry. So, they gave me the call. Was 3 weeks. The longest was 78 days. Grant's hands were shaking again. I lived in the jungle like an animal. Ate whatever I could find or kill. Avoided enemy patrols by moving at night. Used a knife more than a gun because gunfire draws attention. Slept in trees in caves. Sometimes just buried under leaves waiting for patrols to pass. What kind of intelligence did you gather? Troop movements mostly. Supply cache. Locations. Officer identification. Sometimes I'd sabotage ammunition dumps or fuel stores. Small enough to look like accidents. Big enough to slow them down. Grant paused. And sometimes they'd give me a specific target, an officer, a political commissar, someone the CIA wanted gone, but couldn't officially kill. I'd track them for days, wait for the right moment, and make it look like anything except an American operator. Hastings felt his stomach turn. How many targets? Grant looked at him with those gray eyes that had seen too much. Do you really want to know? Yes, sir. 17. Confirmed. Maybe more that I never verified. Grant's voice was flat, emotionless. I'm not proud of it. I'm not ashamed of it. It's just what happened, what they asked me to do, what I did to come home. Master Chief Webb spoke quietly. Sir, why did you stop? What happened in 1975? Grant's expression changed. The hardness cracked, revealing something underneath. Pain. Grief. My last mission. April 1975, Saigon was about to fall. The war was over, but there were American POWs still unaccounted for. 3 of them supposedly held in a camp 20 miles northwest of Hanoi. The CIA had intel, but couldn't verify. They asked me to go in, confirm the POWs were there, and if possible, facilitate an extraction. He closed his eyes, his breathing ragged. I went in, found the camp. The POWs were there. 3 Army soldiers who'd been missing for over a year. I got close enough to see their faces through the wire. The wire. They were alive, barely starving, beaten, but alive. What happened? Hastings asked, though he dreaded the answer. I radioed back, sent coordinates, requested immediate extraction team, but command came back and said the mission was scrubbed, too risky, too close to the fall of Saigon. Diplomatic complications. They ordered me to exfiltrate immediately. Grant's voice broke. I refused. Told them I wasn't leaving without those men. They threatened to court-martial me. Said I was disobeying direct orders. I told them to go to hell. His hands were clenched into fists. Now, despite their trembling, I spent 3 days planning a rescue alone. No backup, no support, just me, a rifle, and the certainty that I wasn't leaving American soldiers to die in a cage. Did you get them out? The young SEAL asked. Grant's face was wet with tears. I got 2 out. The 3rd one died during the firefight. Took a round through the chest. I carried him as far as I could, but he bled out in my arms 3 miles from the extraction point. The room felt like it was suffocating. I got the other 2 to a river extraction. Navy helo picked them up. They survived. Went home to their families, got debriefed and sworn to secrecy about how they were rescued. And you? Hastings asked. I got shot extracting them. Shrapnel from a grenade took my leg below the knee. I made it to the extraction point, but lost too much blood. The helo crew stabilized me, got me to a field hospital in Thailand. I woke up 3 days later with one leg and a message from Naval Special Warfare Command. Grant's voice was bitter now. They told me the mission never happened. The rescue never happened. The PS were officially rescued during a standard recovery operation by a Marine recon team. My role was classified. My service record would be scrubbed. I would be medically discharged, given full disability, and ordered never to speak about shadow operations. They erased you, Master Chief Webb said, his voice filled with disgust. They protected themselves, Grant corrected. If anyone found out the Navy had been running solo deep reconnaissance assassinations in North Vietnam and Laos, it would have been an international incident. So they made me disappear, gave me a new identity for medical records, shuffled me through the VA system, and left me to rot. Hastings stood up, his face red with anger. Sir, that's unconscionable. You saved American lives. You served with honor. You deserved recognition, not erasure. Grant looked up at him and, for the first time, he smiled slightly. Recognition. Admiral. I killed 17 people. With my bare hands or a knife. I lived like an animal for months. I disobeyed direct orders and got a man killed. Trying to be a hero. You think I deserve recognition for that? I think you deserve the truth to be told, Hastings. 1337. Said firmly. Admiral Hastings stood there looking at William Grant, feeling the weight of 50 years of injustice pressing down on the small room. Sir, with your permission, I want to investigate this. I want to find the records, the proof, the truth about what you did. Grant shook his head slowly. You won't find anything. They were thorough. I've looked, spent years trying to find some piece of evidence. That I actually existed, that those missions were real. Nothing. It's like I was never there. What about the 2 PS you rescued? They'd remember. They'd corroborate your story. I don't know who they were, Grant said quietly. Never got their names. Just saw their faces through the wire, got them out, and watched the helicopter take them away. For all I know, they're dead now. Or they were sworn to secrecy so completely they've convinced themselves it happened differently. Master Chief Webb pulled out his phone. Admiral, permission to make some call.